Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Good morning, class. Welcome back to the Nerd Academy podcast, your source for nerddom news and commentary. We're back. It is 2023. We took a little breaky, and we are back in the saddle. Quick little bits of housekeeping. Go check out Star Wars Explained. Connor and I were very graciously invited on to talk about the most recent episode of The Bad Batch on Star Wars Explained. So go check out that most recent episode of The Clone Zone on their YouTube channel. And speaking of our own content, it probably tomorrow at time of you seeing this, time of record as well, because this is coming right out as per usual. We'll have an episode of Knights of the Nerd Republic out as well to recap these first few episodes of The Bad Batch. We're coming up on the mid-season next week with another two-parter. So let me get you caught up with our Bad Batch talk. And then tonight as well for our $5 patrons and up, Versus Series is back as well. Season 4, it's kicking off strong with Obi-Wan Kenobi versus Lord Starkiller. Going a little out of our comfort zone this year with some of these matchups, as you'll see. And we're starting off strong with a very, very specific version of a character. The not even canon to the not canon version of that character. So very excited for that. Very excited for all of that. Also, not sure when it'll be out yet, but we taped a new episode of Ionized Bastards, the Star Wars TTRPG real play show that was hosted on all remaining systems, GM by Michael McCoy. Check that out whenever it is out. We will be sharing that around. But we have big news, big news in the realm of our comic book movies, and we're going to be talking about that with somebody who also was affected by this news, someone who's finally getting their TV show, your resident Green Lantern, Professor Travis Grossman.
First crack of the year.
I
haven't drank a single soda until this moment. You can believe me. I'm in front of a microphone.
Believe you. Believe me, I'm in front of a microphone.
That's a sticker.
I was gonna say we gotta get the merch department on. Believe me, I'm on a microphone, cranked out like right now. But yeah, we're going to be talking about the big announcements from DC here in a minute. But before we do that, a brief word from our sponsors at SundaysBloodyMary.com. You guys know the drill. SundaysBloodyMary.com has the most badass Bloody Mary accoutrement in the multiverse. Their two-time award-winning spicy Caesar mix is my go-to favorite. They also have their mild mix and traditional mixes if you want to tone down the spice a little bit. They have a banger subscription service as well. They also have garnishes like their pickled dilly beans, okra, asparagus, and some rim salt if you're trying to get a little rimmy with it. They also have some really cute merch down here as well. More Sunday's Bloody Mary testimonial. My lovely girlfriend's family actually invested in some because they heard me talk about it enough times, and hearing nothing but praise from them. So it's not just me. I'm not just a shill, I promise. Because if they didn't like it, they'd bust my balls about it. But they loved it because it's good. That's why they keep winning all these awards. So go to sundaysbloodymary.com/shop. Use code TNAP at checkout, TNAP. You get 10% off your order, and you help out your favorite nerds while you do it. So, Travis, getting into the weeds here. What were your expectations going into the other day?
So even though we talked about it and we was like, okay, Slate's coming out on Tuesday. Got it. I forgot. And then opened TikTok and Panda Red came up and he was like, all right, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the new
Oh
DC
yeah, you
slate.
saw
And I
the
was like,
Panda video? I also
yeah.
watched Panda's video, yeah.
And I was like, oh right, there's a DC slate. So I closed out of TikTok, went over to Twitter, watched that video, and went back to TikTok. You know how it's like I'm excited asterisk, and then the
Yeah.
asterisk is I'm worried that blah blah blah. For me, it's I'm really worried what the directors board is going to do if any of this does not succeed in the way they want it to, and I really don't think they're going to make all these projects, but I really hope they do. Asterisk, I'm very excited. The asterisk is that I'm excited.
Well, hearing you're excited at all is like a huge change of pace already for a DC centric episode. But yeah, no, this was incredible. I the day this came out, I was like getting tired of waiting, and I had like a really bad headache that was coming in and out. So I laid down to take a nap, not realizing that like literally the minute I fell asleep was when this was posted. And I woke up and I responded to the group chat I'm always alluding to that I'm in with a bunch of other podcast people, like the Star Wars people. And again, friend of the show, Alden Diaz, was like, I was kind of getting worried that you weren't freaking out about a Damian Wayne announcement, and was worried about you. I was taking a bomb ass nap, but we are going to talk about everything here. We are going to let the man himself, James Gunn, explain things. This is the video from his Twitter. We're going to kind of like pause and discuss as we go with all of these announcements. And then we're going to hop into the Hollywood Reporter article and go from there. So, yeah, without any further ado.
Hey, everybody. I'm James.
Can you hear him?
James Gunn. I'm the co-CEO of DC Studios. So as many of you know, DC has been disconnected in film and television for a long time. And it's one of, our jobs, mine and Peter's, is to come in and make sure the DCU is connected in film, television, gaming, and animation. That the characters are consistent, played by the same actors, and it works within one story. And
so I'm already going to pause it because I want to pick your brain about something.
Oh yeah.
When he says gaming,
yeah, alarm bells went off.
Do you? Well, so the more I've thought about this, the more I'm like, I think this is just all video games are going to end up stamped like DC Elseworlds.
Yeah.
Knowing that label is coming, I think that's where this is headed. But for a brief moment there, I was like, y'all are getting real ambitious again. This sounds
just saying movies, TV, animation is ambitious, right? Like,
yeah. Like the MCU just got there, and it's been like 15 years almost.
Yeah, where have we seen this before?
Yeah.
And if something is outside of that, like Matt Reeves' Batman or Todd Phillips' Joker or Teen Titans Go, that it is clearly labeled as DC Elseworlds, outside of the mainstream DCU continuity. Now, Peter and I have gotten pretty lucky in terms of the 4 projects that are coming out over the next year. First, we have Shazam! Fury.
Have you gotten lucky? We are 3 for 3 on stinkers now. Well, okay, I think he's counting Blue Beetle, so we're 3 for 4 on stinkers because of
every single one of these is mired in some amount of controversy. Like,
yeah, it's great.
By hook or by crook. By hook or by crook, there is something horribly wrong with all of these
movies. Was that
movies.
meant to be like a pun by crook? Because they got charged with breaking and entering.
No, that's not what I was referring to. That was good though. I wish my wordplay was that clever. I wish I had bars like that.
of the gods. Shazam has always been off kind of in his own part of the DCU, so he connects very well. That moves directly into The Flash, a fantastic movie that I really love that resets the entire DC universe. Then to move into Blue Beetle, a fantastic film about a kid who's a marvelous part of the DCU, and then into Aquaman 2, which leads directly into our next few projects, which I'm going to tell you about now.
So, I want to get this out of the way. I don't know how, in the ever-loving fuck, the movies that are, from what he's saying, are both getting rebooted out of continuity, but also the jumping off point for the continuity. Unless this is like a Fury's Big Week situation.
But you
But
know
even
it's
then,
not.
huh?
You know it's not. Like, they never planned for that in the first place, and all these movies were too late in production to do it now. So
Yeah, I'm so curious as to what in the hell Aquaman and the Lost City or Kingdom, whatever it is, lead directly
Aquaman and the
into.
Lost Lawsuit. I got him all day. Shazam Fury of the anti-vaxxers. Keep them coming.
Isn't it funny though that like Fury of the Gods? So here's something with the Zachary Levi debacle. I saw a really clever tweet that said something to the effect of, "You need to be clear when you're speaking, because if you don't offer clarification, the internet will for you." And like, I don't think anybody ever would have found or would have gone looking for clips of Zachary Levi talking about how smart he thinks Jordan Peterson is, had it not been for him just randomly going, "Pfizer sucks." And it was that tweet was such a fun Rorschach test, right?
Yeah.
Because like he could go, "Well, Pfizer, like, does anybody else think that Pfizer is a danger to the world?" And you get two types of reactions. You get, "Yeah, because like big pharma sucks," and then you get, "Yeah, because vaccines." And those are two very different people. And I didn't enjoy it. It sucked. But there was a brief moment of humor watching most of the internet clench its ass cheeks, trying to figure out whether or not Zachary Levi was super based on Maine or not.
And based on other information that then got like thrown at the tweet of like, "Hey, remember when you said this?" And the fact that like, I know I didn't know the name Pfizer before the Pfizer vaccine.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm gonna throw that out there. I'm gonna take a real hard guess and say that most people that are complaining about the vaccine and saying things like Pfizer's ruining the world didn't know Pfizer existed as like a word before the vaccine.
I unfortunately think you might be onto something. But yeah. And like just to be charitable and a mild benefit of the doubt, there corporations do suck, and I'm not gonna say Zachary Levi gets a pass. I will say I am in some ways like willing to give him a mulligan, like I am eagerly waiting for the next time he opens his mouth.
Yeah, like if the next time he's like, "Yeah, I'm really gonna start sticking it to big pharma," sure, I'll take it back.
Sure.
I'll publicly say, "Oh man, I was wrong."
I think someone needs to take Zachary Levi aside and explain the concept of dead naming to him. Because that Joe Rogan clip is bad. That Joe Rogan clip is ugly.
That too.
because Rogan dead names Elliot Page like 3 times in a minute. And that's all happening while he's defending Peterson. Now, again, is one of those situations like, you know, I don't think it's fair to expect people to have like a perfect internet record. You know, there are absolutely people who, you know, when you know better, you do better, who don't understand why Jordan Peterson sucks. So like, but aren't bad people. They just don't get it. So again, I'm willing to give Zachary Levi a mulligan here.
Yeah, can I point out one more before we move on? I
Yes,
meant to talk
please.
to you about this, and this is completely so that tweet came out, and I went to that tweet and I looked at all the replies, and I noticed a very fascinating trend.
Okay.
Right? Pattern brain kicked in. Everyone replying to that tweet saying, "Well, now I'm not going to go see your movie," was either legacy verified or not verified at all. Mostly, and like most of the ones at the top were like legacy verified, like people that were verified before Elon took Twitter. Everyone harassing those people in their replies all had Twitter blue check marks, like every single one. Like every single one was a Twitter blue subscriber.
This bitch. First, this bitch 2023, ladies and gentlemen.
So yeah, fun little.
God. I
Fun
feel
little trend.
I feel legitimate. I feel like legitimate pity for people who like sincerely had a Twitter Blue subscription before Elon. Right? Because there are some folks like, you know, friend of the show, like Pete Fletcher from Around the Galaxy. The Around the Galaxy Twitter has one because he is prone to like a rogue thumb in a tweet, right? So he has that, like, I get a couple minutes to like unfuck my tweet. But that poor guy. You know, there are so many people out there who accidentally ended up with a check mark who were like, I don't want this. I don't put this on me. Don't put that devil on me, Ricky Bobby. You know?
And that's the difference though. Like what you just described as someone being like, "Oh man, I really like the idea of being able to correct my tweets without having to like take it down, put it back out, whatever." You can tell that on the other end of the spectrum is people who got it for the check mark.
Yeah.
And those people are the ones being like, "Wow, just because you disagree about this thing that causes people to die."
Yeah. Can't we just have a difference of opinion as to whether or not you have rights? But yeah. Anyway, that was a fun tangent. I'm very curious to see how these last. I mean, you know, Flash. We all knew was going to be Flashpoint. I don't even if the quote unquote Snyderverse wasn't thrown in the bin, Flash was always going to be some form of Flashpoint. You know, whether or not it is for wholesale reboot purposes or just it's a fun story. However,
I guess if they really want to do like a reboot thing, they could do something like the animated universe did a couple years ago, where like Barry does one more run into the time stream, like knowing it's going to change everything, but that doesn't see another way, and that's where the movie ends. And then,
God,
I don't know, Aquaman's just going to happen, I guess. I don't know.
That was so good.
Yeah, those movies are good. I rewatched Death of Superman recently.
Yeah.
Holds up.
Isn't it crazy how, like, if you actually tell these stories the way they're supposed to be told, they're fantastic?
Yeah. Yeah, man.
Even something as dumb in 90s as the Death of Superman can be incredibly powerful if you know what the fuck you're doing.
I am the cavalry is one of the most Superman lines ever read out loud. Also, I undervalue Rainn Wilson as Lex Luthor until I hear him do it every time.
He's a good one. He's an amazing dark horse pick. for animation. I don't think he has the look for live action, but he sure as hell has the sound. But any hoozles, back to Mr. Gunn.
So Peter and I, along with a group of very talented writers, have started to map out an 8 to 10-year plan of what DC Studios will be in film, television, and gaming. This first chapter is called Gods and Monsters. Now, this, what I'm about to tell you, is a part of the first chapter. It's not the entire first chapter. The first project is Creature Commandos. Creature Commandos is an animated series. I've written all the episodes. Something we're going to do.
All right. We got chuckles from Travis on Creature Commandos.
So I never actually answered your question before. You were like, what were you expecting? Exactly this. I was expecting like 4 projects of people I've never heard of to start a cinematic universe. This is exactly what I thought he was going to do. I'm not upset by it, but it does make me laugh.
It is really funny. It is really fun. Hearing all right, guys, you've been chomping at the bit to hear what DC's doing next. Well, here's our answer. Dr. Phosphorus, Rick Flag Sr., and goddamn Weasel, baby.
That's a little bit different at DC is we're going to have characters move into animation, out of animation, usually having the same actor play their voice as who plays them in live action. The next project up is Waller. This is a story of Amanda Waller, played by Viola Davis. Viola Davis is going to team up with members of Team Peacemaker, and this is a story that's been created by Crystal Henry, who did Watchmen, and Jeremy Carver, who created the Doom Patrol. It is a fantastic story that's out of this world, and I can't wait for people to see it. Okay.
I just want to say, before we talk about Waller, I love the way James Gunn says fantastic. It is always fantastic. So I guess this is a mild confirmation that it is going to be a hodgepodge of recasts and casting staying the same, which, do what works. I understand wanting to bring fresh faces in for some of your headlining characters. I don't think we're going to have Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman anymore. That's just my gut.
I mean,
I think
we didn't have a Wonder Woman project announced at all. Spoilers.
Well,
I mean, like there's a Wonder Woman adjacent project. I don't think that Wonder Woman is necessarily going to be in it.
Oh yeah, for sure. But
yeah, I think especially I think also part of the reason they went with he's doing the route he's doing is it gives them time to find the person, because like when you're casting Batman or Superman, you have to make sure you have the person you want. They have time to prepare. Like,
yeah,
regardless, like they don't need to get Henry Cavill sized, but like they do need time to prepare, most likely.
absolutely. Yeah, and I mean, like, you're already like, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but whoever you cast as Superman, they're already locked in for 2 movies from this announcement alone.
Yeah.
Like I don't see the Supergirl movie happening without Clark being involved. I've not read Tom King's run of Supergirl. I have every intention of doing so now. Same with Grant Morrison's Batman and Robin. Also, Grant Morrison, they, them pronouns, folks. A lot of people don't know that. Yep, okay. Shit, I do this to myself all the time. There's Grant Morrison, and then who did Sandman?
Neil Gaiman.
Neil Gaiman. I always get this is the issue I have. I have Gaiman, and I switch him and Morrison up all the time. So I've done this on air before, where I will use they them pronouns on Neil Gaiman and accidentally misgender Grant Morrison, because I cannot separate them in my mind for some reason, and I don't know why. But
yeah, I'll have to remember that. That's good to know.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It sneaks up on you because they're not in the media as much as other folks,
which is probably good for them.
Yeah. Honestly, stay weird, Grant. Stay weird.
Next up is the big one, the true beginning of the DCU. This is called Superman Legacy. This is being written by me. I'm in the middle of it. I'm having a great time doing it. And Superman will be released into theaters July 11th, 2025. Okay, the next thing is a big premiere HBO television series called Lanterns. This is a story of a couple of Green Lanterns, John Stewart and Hal Jordan, and we have a few other lanterns peppered in there, but this is really a terrestrial-based TV show, which is almost like True Detective with a couple of Green Lanterns who are space cops watching over Precinct Earth. In it, they discover a terrifying mystery that ties into our larger story of the DCU.
All right. Superman and Lanterns thoughts.
All right, so that is ambitious to put a date on Superman already.
Right? I let out an audible goddamn when I heard that the first time.
Also, I believe that's a panel from All-Star Superman.
Yeah, it's definitely a panel from All Star. That's totally not the story they're adapting, though.
Yeah, absolutely not. It's just like, because I saw everyone's been like trying to figure out what Superman. Then now we know it's called Superman Legacy, what the Superman movie was going to be, and so people were throwing around Kingdom Come. People were looking at All Star Superman. That's because I think Gunn tweeted like a couple panels from it. And
Gunn has tweeted out a lot of Kingdom Come. He's tweeted out some All Star. I implore, on a general basis, Nando V Movies kicks ass. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. He has a really cool pitch for how I would do a Superman movie, like Superman reboot movie, which is super good. And it's kind of an adaptation of What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way. And I didn't get to watch Nando's full stream, but he was talking about all the James Gunn announcement stuff, and he brought up, and I think he might be onto something here. The idea that what we might be looking at is a bastard love baby of What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way and Kingdom Come. And the way you fuse them together is you have like a Manchester Black type character or a Magog type character, and like the central thrust of the story is he's dealing with, and also this ties into what we're looking at now. We're going to talk about the Authority. That it's like you have Superman, who is this kind of hokey, silly guy. They reference this in the Hollywood Reporter write-up we're going to talk about, but how kind of one of the thrusts of that movie is going to be people don't take Superman's sensibilities seriously in the modern age, and you juxtapose that with a more aggressive, gritty, violent type of superhero like the Authority or Manchester Black and his gang, or Magog and the heroes we see him leading in Kingdom Come. And that's the story, is it's Clark squaring his human and Kryptonian lineage and trying to again reaffirm truth, justice, and the American way, better tomorrow as we call it now, that kind of being the central thrust. And I think that would be really clever. And again, it's also the interconnectivity of kind of adapting the Authority into being like a Magog Manchester Black type outfit. Again, I can't remember the name of the group Manchester Black runs with in What's So Funny. So I'm just kind of using him as a fill-in for the rest of them because I can't remember the name of the group. But yes, before we move on, Lanterns. Very excited. Excited to hear somebody say out loud, we're letting Hal Jordan out of the doghouse.
I think it's very, very funny that The show as it existed 2 or 3 years ago that we knew about starred every single Earth-based lantern except for those two.
Right?
And I would bet money that like in the big shakeup where they were gonna throw this show away, like I have no doubt in my mind.
Well, it's
What's
funny
his
you
name?
mentioned that. Getting ahead of ourselves a little bit for the Hollywood Reporter article, they basically say that like Greg Berlanti's Green Lantern show that he was developing
Yeah,
got canned. Like
yeah, that's
this is
that
either
has to be what's going on because like the show we heard about is not how Jordan and Jon Stewart go be space cops,
Yeah.
right? I mean, you even have Alan Scott in the old one, and he's not part of the core
Yeah.
traditionally. So to do that big pivot, my guess is James came in and was like, "No, I want to do a Lantern project. We can do it as an HBO Max show, but we're using the ones that are going to get attention. Not that the other ones won't. It's
Yeah.
just easier to draw in with, especially John. Like
Exactly.
like the group you're aiming at now grew up on Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, and I didn't know there were other Green Lanterns for many years. I thought it was just John.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and there's also, again, getting ahead of ourselves for the article. You know, Gunn and Safran talk a lot about how they want to that their strategy is you're coming for who they're referring to as their diamond characters. Clark, Bruce, Diana, John, Hal. And what they want to do is they want to hook you with the diamond characters so you stick around for their what they're referring to as future diamond characters. So, yeah, come because you kids who watch Justice League on Cartoon Network want to see Jon Stewart in live action finally. And now while you're here, get a load of this Kyle Rayner guy. You know, like, and it's a similar pipeline to what the MCU did. Like,
Yeah.
granted, they started with like less than diamond characters because it's what they had, you know, but like they turned Iron Man, Captain America, Thor characters, for the most part, were kind of silly and, you know, kind of got joked off, except for like the fucking Hulk. And then turn them into these diamond characters. Okay, Iron Man's a commodity now. Thor's a commodity now. Okay, you bought into this. Let's see if you buy into Black Panther. Let's see if you buy into Doctor Strange. You know, Ant-Man, ba-da-da. So like they're using a similar strategy here. The advantage DC has that they've always had, that they've failed to capitalize up to this point on, is the fact that you have the most recognizable superheroes in your stable and they all belong to you. You know, you can use Superman, Batman, The Flash, Wonder Woman, these characters that the layman knows.
You know, though, I'm gonna put this out there. I think it might be a disadvantage. I think it might be why Marvel succeeded. They were put in a box, and they worked within that box and did really well. And it's not that DC can't do well with these characters. Because again, I trust James Gunn. I don't trust the WB directors board. Right?
Yeah. Gunn and Safran we trust, Zaslav not so much.
Right? Zaslav is going to see one of these projects, like we're looking at the Authority right now, is going to see the Authority or Creature Commandos not do as well. And like he's running that risk, right? James knows.
Yeah.
If one of these does not commercially succeed the way that Zaslav thinks it should, the whole thing could just get canned. And like that, they don't understand the idea of we're going to make these projects for a more hardcore audience, knowing that we're going to draw people in this way from these other projects and like keep them retained by a continued storytelling. They don't understand that on the director's board. It's just, are we making profits off these projects? oh, they're not as high as I wanted them. Get rid of it.
Yeah.
It's why we're where we're at now.
You're right, and I think it's one of the things that excites me so much about stuff like Lantern, stuff like I can't remember if the Authority will be a movie, but like stuff like Paradise Lost and Lanterns and Creature Commandos. Even we're looking at something that's going to be on HBO Max, which means the weird, risky shit for the most part, other than the Authority, which again, big old swing for the fences here, means on some level, like it's not risk free, but because it's going on streaming, you don't have to worry necessarily about things like live TV ratings or like turning a profit at the box office, and this is why I think the Authority might be a part of the Superman movie. It's why I think Nando V Movies is onto something. And again, I highly recommend both his recap of this and his Superman pitch to anybody watching or listening. But yeah, I think this is going to tie into Superman, and that is how you like spin out these diamond characters, as they were saying. But we'll let James speak on the Authority.
Next is a big movie called The Authority. The Authority is a passion project of mine. It's based on the marvelous Wildstorm characters we are now bringing into the DCU and will interact with all of our primary DCU characters. The Authority are a group of superheroes who think the world is broken and they want to fix it by any means necessary. I think it's a very different look at superheroes. We're doing a television series called Paradise Lost. Paradise Lost is a story of Paradise Island, usually known as Themyscira, which is the birthplace of Wonder Woman. It's almost like Game of Thrones with Westeros, but with all of the inhabitants of Paradise Island. The introduction of the DCU's Batman is The Brave and the Bold. The Brave and the Bold is the story of Batman and his actual son, Damian Wayne. This is based on Grant Morrison's great comic book run. Damian Wayne is my favorite Robin. He's a little assassin who Batman tries to get in line. And so this is the story of the two of them and the beginning of sort of the Bat family in the DCU.
It's gonna be a big nut bust.
So, first of all, the Authority. I have no worries about this at all with, again, James Gunn at the helm. Midnighter and Apollo are super gay, and they better stay that way. I'm not worried about James Gunn being the type to run away from that, though. And we talked about the Authority a good bit here. Paradise Lost sounds fun. Sounds cool.
Yeah.
Travis.
Yeah.
I'm happy because it's about damn time. It is about damn time that my boy gets some respect put on his name. It is Damian Wayne hours around these parts now. Oh,
I'm conflicted because I want it to be Dick.
Okay, I have a pitch for you.
But and based on what he has not said yet in the video, but we know that he says, if the rest of the Bat family is operating already, which is usual when Damian shows up, that means I get Nightwing, and everybody wins. Everybody wins.
So everybody wins. You and I win.
Yes, well, that's everybody. It's just us.
Yeah, that's everybody. No, so I think you're exactly right. And like, so here, I'm gonna do like a mini like Jarod V Movies real quick. Okay. Damian shows up. First movie, we see that they, like he's describing, we're seeing the Bat family come together. I think what we're looking at already is a existing but fractured Bat fam. I think Dick is doing his own thing in Bloodhaven. I think Jason Todd is KIA, and I think Barbara is either doing her own thing as Batgirl or she's already become the Oracle. Maybe we have a Tim. Damian comes into the fold, and you get like whatever Bruce and Damian's first adventure together is. I think great sequel fodder is where you do an adaptation of Under the Red Hood. And if Damian's thrust as a character has already been established to be, hey, you're incredibly violent, you need to not be this way, and like learning to be like a softer kind of hero, what better villain to set him up against than the fallen Robin, right? To like juxtapose him as like what he could potentially be. I'm gonna let you speak for a moment because I gotta answer a phone call.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited for another Batman project. I'm excited for a James Gunn Batman project. I really hope he's not gone all that long. I am worried, as I always am with DC, adapting a comic run specifically, like naming a comic run and saying this is what we are adapting, because it has not tracked well with their other projects. And he's back.
No, I do think it's interesting that we've got. There's a couple times where they invoke specific runs here.
Yeah, and and that's the thing. There's a difference between invoking a run and trying to adapt a run. It's weird to me that he specifically names one here.
Yeah, I think it. I think he is invoking the Grant Morrison Batman stuff mostly because it is the introduction of Damian, and in the same way that like almost every superhero origin story is like as close as you will ever get to like direct adaptation for the most part because you're doing origin stuff.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to me that that they're saying that they're going to be trying to go for like that, father and son story arc. Completely checks out to me. But again, as it stands, you're right. Like it's the direct adaptation of specific arcs has been hit or miss across comic book media. You'll have a smash hit like Hawkeye, which was great. I have my own misgivings about Hawkeye, but like at the end of the day, like that was almost a direct adaptation of the Mad Fraction stuff.
But the difference is that was a TV show. You have the time in a TV show to do it. If they were saying we're going to adapt Brave and the Bold over a TV show on HBO Max, no worries. They're going to get it right. If they adapted Hush, my big one is Hush. Like that's my big example to point to. Is you have this big overarching story that people want to see in movement.
Yeah.
And you need, like, I think we're starting to realize you need to do that with television rather than film. I know, because like Civil War is the closest Marvel's ever tried outside of Hawkeye,
Yeah, Civil War. Well, that's the thing is like so much of it is like vibes,
right?
Like almost every Batman movie feels like The Long Halloween,
That's
like every single Batman movie is just trying to feel like The Long Halloween. None of them have like truly adapted The Long Halloween. That you can argue the closest we've gotten is either The Dark Knight or The Batman. And like both The Dark Knight Rises and Batman v Superman kind of adapt The Dark Knight Returns, but The Dark Knight strays so far away from the source material, and Batman v Superman is also like a secret origins for the Justice League and the death of Superman.
And bad.
And well, okay.
It's not a good movie.
Never said it.
You're allowed to like it, but I'm allowed to hate it.
Except for that time I very loudly and confidently said better than Avengers when it first came out.
True.
But
yeah, I think, and if that's the thing, if we're just getting vibes and like a couple panel recreations, and I trust old Jimmy here. I think I think he's going to do fine because, the Civil War movie, we all knew when they announced it, we're not getting 1-to-1. That's exactly what they did with the movie. We knew we weren't going to get a 1-to-1 with the comics. It wouldn't make sense with where we were in the MCU. It was going to be a couple of famous panels recreated. The vibe of Cap and Iron Man beefing over weird government stuff, and everything else just has to fit the story they're telling. And I think also, like, when you say the Grant Morrison Brave and the Bold run, like, it doesn't invoke the same. That's not a specific story besides the introduction of Damian. So, you're not invoking the same issues of telling the story of Batman Hush, telling the Long Halloween, where like there's specific story beats you need to hit, but those story beats require other parts of the DC universe to be intact.
Yes.
Know?
It's very, very interesting, fraught territory to be sure. But like I said, I'm very excited, and I do truly think this means that we are going to get an extended Bat Family. So like, we are just going to be dropped right into this.
The movie. They did it. They won.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, I don't want to be that guy. I really don't. Like, storytelling takes a precedent over world building every day. Like, it is the reason why, the Amazing Spider-Man 2 gets maligned. It's why, I know you and I both like it, but it's why Iron Man 2 gets shit on.
You mean the greatest MCU movie?
Yes, the best MCU movie, Iron Man 2.
You know what I watched recently, actually?
What?
Iron Man 3.
Yeah.
As a Christmas movie, because it's a Christmas movie. And
it is a Christmas
holds
movie.
Up.
It does hold up. It's great. But I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Oh, no. Like, storytelling over world building every time. But like, we're what, like 3 movies and a couple TV shows in to this, like, chapter 1 of the DCU, and what's already on the block? We already have a Bat Family,
which is
Zack Snyder's version of this. Again, I don't want to talk shit. Like, his creative vision is his creative vision, but like, grand scheme of things, to those of you who are like, oh, Snyderverse, he literally just killed the entire Bat Family before we could meet them. Like,
and use that as an origin point. Yeah.
This is how you do it. If you're going to have your heroes already exist, let them already exist.
And James seems to understand, and it's been working, DC works better when you drop in the middle. I mean, most stories do, right? It's Star Wars,
Yeah.
But this idea that, especially with DC, with how known a lot of these story beats and universe beats are, you can drop, like, you can make a Superman movie where he's already Superman, and the audience kind of figures out, like, oh, he's being flirty with Lois, and she doesn't know, and he's figuring out his identity, and he just got the costume, and so he's going to upgrade it, and he hasn't met Lex yet, etc. With Batman, it's okay. So he's already had Dickus's ward, and I don't see Jason anywhere, so maybe he doesn't have a Robin yet. So Jason's dead, but then he doesn't have Tim yet, etc., etc. Like, you get to find out where they are in the grand story, and then they can fill those beats in later as they want.
Yeah. Well, I also think, like, and do with this what you will, I also think the order in which Batman takes his Robins doesn't have to be sacrosanct. Like, I would prefer it to happen in the order it happens in the comics, because, like, it's what we've said 1,000 times before as well. Like, while we're talking, I'm going to let Mr. Gunn take a break here, and then I'll pull him back up when we're ready to get back in it. But, like, it's what we've said 1,000 times. What I would love to see as much of a direct adaptation as humanly possible. Is it inherently bad if we don't get that? No. Is it preferred? Of course, because it's cool to see the thing come to life and like move around and shit. However, I also trust storytellers to be like, hey, I think he should meet Damian Wayne before he meets Tim Drake.
Yeah, and I think like really for me personally, what it comes down to is as long as you have built your universe sufficiently, and I say this like, we just talked about you prioritize storytelling over universe, but in prioritizing storytelling, you need to make sure that your universe is ready to tell certain stories if you're going to tell them.
Absolutely.
Right. So like if we open this universe and we omit a Robin somewhere at first, that's fine. You can do that as long as your next story is not one that is known from the comics that hinges on another Robin being there, right?
Yeah, look at
And-
the DCAU and the Arkhamverse. You know, they retroactively suffered because they didn't have a Jason Todd. You know, and like the Batman animated stuff, obviously is happening like it within comics now. Like all of that stuff is being, like Paul Dini and Bruce Timm and all the people, like other than that whole creative team, like are telling those stories in comics, and they're like retroactively introducing Jason. But like the Arkham universe, and you also create a situation where like, okay, we're gonna try to have a new, fresh take on this. Well, we already can tell who the fucking Arkham Knight is. Where so you create these situations where you paint yourself into a corner where you either have to so radically adapt an artwork, a story or whatever to make it fit your narrative, or conversely, you just kind of have to go on a retcon spree.
Yeah.
So I agree with you completely. Like, again, the story should take precedent. Absolutely. But also like if your goal is a big interconnected, whatever, you need to make sure you can support that. You couldn't do Infinity War in phase 1 or 2.
Exactly. And
you needed all the players on the board. It's the same reason why, again, like we keep coming back to this. This is like the golden rule of what not to do. The Dark Knight Returns and the foundation of the Justice League cannot happen at the same time. They just don't go together. It's a really weird juxtaposition that I don't know if anybody could have made that work.
No, absolutely not. I will firmly stand, unless your goal is to create a Justice League where Batman isn't there, or it's for some reason like a Dick Grayson Batman.
Yeah.
Like we're in
this... but even then, like you're missing on so many great stories you could tell with Bruce.
Right.
Like my dream, truly, as much as like I am a Bruce Wayne Batman purist, I sincerely hope for the day where we get enough Batman stories told that we will one day have a run of movies where Dick Grayson is the Batman. Like I hope that one day we get that. Like we get Bruce dying fighting Apocalypse, or not Apocalypse, Darkseid. Like again, like do that run, do that whole bullshit with like the stupid like anti-life bullet nonsense, shoots Darkseid, he gets shot into the fucking time stream. Do that silly bullshit. Maybe bring Bruce back, or maybe have him die in the line of duty, man. Like again, look at Iron Man. Like that affected people. Like imagine how crazy it would be to see Batman die in live action, like for real. And
I think that also, I mean, there's a couple things going on with that, right? Because Marvel understood like we can't keep RDJ forever. He's too expensive. But also, like
he's become too expensive, and it's our fault.
He's getting older. That's the other thing too. The timeline these movies are on is so constrained, where like you don't have these actors for super long.
Yeah.
And some of them want to go work on other projects. That happens. And so you can't tie them to big names like Batman and Superman and be like, you're going to be here for a decade. Good luck.
Yeah.
Make sure you stay in perfect health.
Yeah.
Don't age.
Well, it's also like, and again, this is another like ambition thing that we're looking at. Like, we want a Superman who's already active. We want a Batman who's already active. Like, that's a big ask, you know? Like, and I'm not saying like 30 is old, obviously. That's silly.
But like,
But like,
I mean, DC's also always had this problem of like so much happens to compress like the span of the Bat family. Bruce has to start being Batman at like 16, realistically.
you know, it's funny you said that. I keep bringing it up. Like, again, like Nano V Movies even brought up, like, you want to compress the timeline as much as you can. Bruce Wayne is training with the League of Assassins at 15.
Yeah, that is,
Which,
I mean,
like,
literally, he needs to be back operating in Gotham by like 18 or 19. He has to be established as Batman by like 22, and he has to take Dick at 23. Like that's
I think you can give it a little bit more time to breathe. I think you can give it like a little bit longer to cook. But you're not. I don't fully disagree with you either. Like, there's a lot of boom, 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 boom that has to happen.
because like Dick is supposed to have moved on because he takes Dick when Dick's like 9 or 10. Like the age range varies, obviously, but if he takes Dick when he's 9,
There's no fucking way they do that. There's no fucking way. They try to look an audience in the eyes and say hi. Like Bruce Wayne having an army of child soldiers is already enough of a meme. I don't think they're actually going. I think Damien's going to be a teenager. I don't think Damien's going to be.
Also working like you want teenagers because it's kind of the opposite problem of what I just described, where like actors age and you have to cover that up. And like,
yeah,
RDJ seemed to rapidly age when he left the MCU, but really I think they were just doing a lot of makeup to keep him young.
Yeah.
Kind of deal. You're going to have the opposite problem. It's the problem a lot of these shows starring kids are having, where they're aging so fast.
Yeah.
You have to do everything in your power to keep them that age.
Well, especially like your Stranger Things is like, which I still have to catch up on, but like you got like 2 years between a season at a clip.
Yeah.
So like, congratulations, your entire cast hit puberty like a brick wall.
Yeah. So, I would not be surprised if Damien's like, if at any point that we get introduced to a Robin, they're like 13. Right? And even then, right, if you take Dick when Dick is 12 or 13, Dick doesn't become Nightwing until he's an adult. So you're looking at 5 years.
Yeah.
Minimum. Before Jason even shows up. That puts, on my timeline, that puts Bruce at 28.
Yeah.
Then he has to have Jason for like maybe 2 years to die. Puts him at 30. Right? And if he's taken, and then that's that vary. Like if you go Tim or Damien, it doesn't really matter which one you do next. I personally, I like Tim because I think Tim is my favorite Robin. Dick is my favorite Bat family member, but I think Tim is my favorite Robin because I love the idea of a Robin who like detectives Batman to the point that Batman's like, yeah, if I don't take you off the street soon, you're going to get into a lot of fucking trouble.
Yeah, you're about to be more trouble than you're worth if I don't recruit you. That's funny.
So yeah, like Bruce has to be upwards of, and somewhere in there, Damien has to be conceived.
Yeah. Yeah.
With enough time to pass for him to be a teenager. So Bruce at a minimum has to be like 35 or 36.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, like he and Talia, you know,
which if you're going to be realistic about what he's doing to his, and not like you have to be super real, like, you know, the big realism needs a knee brace to be Batman, like in The Dark Knight. But realistically, he
needs
can't
a
keep
knee
doing
brace
this
that had some kick through a brick.
Yeah, like, oh, you don't have cartilage in your knee. Put on this knee brace, and now you are literally super strong. It's fine.
Why didn't he just kick Bane in the balls with his hydraulic knee?
Why didn't he just kick Bane, period? Like, anywhere he would have kicked him, he would have exploded.
It's like a fucking Mortal Kombat X-ray attack.
Yeah. Kick him in the mask. He needs the mask, right, to live in that version. Just kick him in the mask.
Yeah, because Bane's Darth Vader in The Dark Knight Rises.
I've let this get ahead of me, but yeah.
Back to Papa Gunn.
I guess back to Papa Gunn. Yeah.
Next up is a TV series called Booster Gold. Booster Gold is one of comics' really popular cult heroes. He is a fascinating guy. He's a loser from the future who uses future technology to come back to present day and become a superhero so that people will love him. It is basically the superhero story of imposter syndrome on an HBO Max series. One of my favorite comic book series from last year was Tom King's run on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. And so we're going to turn that into a big science fiction epic film. Now, Superman is a guy who was sent to Earth and raised by loving parents, whereas Supergirl in this story, she is a character who was raised on a chunk of Krypton. She watched everybody around her perish in some terrible way. So she's a much more jaded character. And that brings me to Swamp Thing, the last thing we're going to talk about, a very dark horror story in the origins of the monster who is Swamp Thing. And although it's totally outside of the rest of the DCU, it will still feed into the rest of the stories. Anyway, those are...
I tried to do before I sneezed and I didn't quite get there.
It's okay, buddy. So that is a crazy run in that back chunk.
I am genuinely surprised it took that long to get the Swamp Thing.
So I agree.
Like it's James Gunn. The Swamp Thing. I'm surprised he wasn't like, all right, our kickoff, our Iron. He wouldn't have said our Iron Man, but our Iron Man for this whole universe is gonna be Swamp Thing. Trust us.
Yeah, honestly. So first of all, Booster Gold TV show. It's about damn time.
Put some respect on the name.
Super pumped for that.
That episode of Justice League Unlimited is one of the best.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. Like we already talked about, like, you know, we'll see how they do this whole adapting an entire comic run into a movie. Again, very excited for that. So we kind of glossed over it way at the beginning. I was talking about, like, you know, they're not doing the whole blank phase. It's chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. Now, they have the god. I'm interested where all the gods are, because we have Superman and we have Paradise Lost. We have Apollo with the Authority. Okay, we go from there. Sure. Even though it's not like Apollo, but still, that might be some. We'll see where they go with that. I think it is crazy that we are this early into what they're doing, and they're like, so the green. Like,
as a concept,
they're really trying to make sure that, like, all the power players are on the board. And I think that is very fascinating.
Swamp Thing lets you introduce so many other characters through the Justice League Dark.
Yeah.
Which is a thing we've been, like, hearing rumors about for a long time anyway.
Yeah.
You know?
Get our John Constantine, which...
played by Matt Ryan, because you have to.
I don't want... Matt Ryan, yes. Keanu, I have no desire for. No disrespect to Keanu. We're not going to get super duper into the Hollywood Reporter article because a lot of the write-up about the projects that are announced are pretty much what we saw in that video. I just do want to call attention to a couple of things that are brought up, mostly about the movies that are on the way out here, like basically Shazam through Aquaman. Again, this is Boris Kitt from Hollywood Reporter. Gunn and Safran are high on the quartet made under the previous film regime, and the of DC Films, run by former head Walter Hamada. Gunn calls The Flash, directed by Andy Muschietti, probably one of the greatest superhero movies ever made. He also said the 4 leads of those films could potentially return to their roles in DCU projects down the line. Quote, "There is nothing that prohibits that from happening," said Gunn. Among those actors is Ezra Miller, the troubled star of The Flash, who has found themselves at the center of several criminal investigations. They pleaded guilty to trespassing earlier this month, and who in August announced they were seeking treatment for quote unquote complex mental health issues. Safran said that the executives remain hopeful Miller is on the path to betterment. Quote, "Ezra is completely committed to their recovery. We are fully supportive of that journey they are on right now. And when the time is right, when they are ready to have that discussion, we will all figure out what's the best path forward. But right now, they are completely focused on their recovery. And in our conversation with them in the last couple months, it feels like they're making enormous progress." And I do kind of want to pause on that and bring that up because we, the internet at large, have been having fun with the whole Ezra Miller situation and how every time you turn around, they are acting like the Reverse Flash and not the Flash. I do just want to say Ezra Miller getting the help that they need is good. And, we've been talking about the MCU here a lot, just because it's an easy comparison for what Gunn is trying to tee up. Lest we forget the shit RDJ was getting up to in the 90s. Like, you got some gnarly shit. And some stuff, would be career ending by today's standards for better or worse. And while I do not want to make excuses for Ezra Miller, I also want to say that, just, in the name of being politically consistent, rehabilitation is always the preferred outcome. And them getting the help that they need is good. And I think getting to see Ezra Miller post treatment, post getting the help that is necessary, try to re-enter the public space, I do think there should be some amount of patience and grace given, as much as one can. Because again, like, Iron Man's a household name. Robert Downey Jr. was like waking up in random women's beds, like just breaking into houses to sleep in beds, because he was on incredible benders back in his substance fueled heyday. And it's bad, but people get better. Like John Mulaney, another great example. Like, homeboy went through a rough patch and got the treatment he needs, and he's out on the other side better for it. So yeah, I just want to call attention to that, because I do think that we make the recovery process harder for people who are doing their best in a lot of scenarios after they fuck up. And I just think extending that kind of grace is better for everybody in the long run.
I generally agree. I completely agree. But I think the thing here is part of that recovery process needs to be Ezra separating himself for, like, Warner Brothers should give them a severance package and be like, we're going to help you sort your shit out. Like, get back on your feet. You're not necessarily back in your job as the Flash, but at the very least, what we can do is help you be at a point where you can work again. And that
where you can work again and like make this decision not under duress, like, because that's another issue is, all of these headlines have ruined my career. The only thing I have left is playing Barry Allen, where again, at that point, whether you meant to or not, you're holding this person's career at gunpoint. And
right. And also, like, this might be a weird theory, but forcing someone back into work immediately out of the mental health help that they need probably isn't good for them.
Probably not. No, absolutely
Like, I
not.
don't
Well, I mean, I
remember.
think you.
I don't remember the exact time on RDJ, but he didn't work for a while before they
Yeah.
brought him in as Iron Man.
Yeah,
So,
no, it was
like,
you heard very little from him, and then Iron Man happened, and then everything was coming up Downey.
yeah. So let Ezra have their time. Let them not be in the news. Quit trying to, like, on DC's side, don't try to force them back. And on the internet side, don't be surprised, I guess, that they're going to release the movie anyway. Like, at that point, it's out of Ezra's hands.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
totally. And again, like I am not going to say that I think that when doing the calculus on do you keep the Flash or Batgirl, you know, gun to my head, if I had to pick one of those movies over the other one, like I had to make the calculus, I'd put my money on the movie that explicitly has Bat in the title, uh, over the one that again is mired in controversy because of Miller. Um, but all of that to say, be kind and foster good faith as best you can. One last little bit here with quotes, and then we're gonna get out of here. First part is Gunn talking about the TV show, saying we don't want the series to feel in any way like stepchildren or lesser than, said Gunn. It's just another way to tell a story. And then the other part, which is going to be important here. And they took on the touchy subject of Henry Cavill, tipped to return to Superman in a cameo in last year's Black Adam, but who in the end will not return to Superman, much to the chagrin of a very vocal fan base. We didn't fire Henry. Henry was never cast, said Gunn. For me, it's about who do I cast as Superman and who do the filmmakers we have want to cast. And for me, for this story, it isn't Henry. He then added, I like Henry. I think he's a great guy. I think he's getting dicked around a lot by people, including the former regime at this company. But this Superman is not Henry for a number of reasons. So,
Yes.
James Gunn, based Gunn.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyway, that's our slate. I am very cautiously optimistic. I'm very excited. Happy to hear that we're also still going to be getting projects like Matt Reeves' is The Batman, all the Batman related stories. Joker. But yeah, very exciting stuff. We're back. When there's news, we'll be here. It's weird. Like we've built our whole shit around kind of being beholden to when TV is coming out, that it's weird that there's not a Marvel show yet. So
Yeah, that is true.
I actually have a little something cooking in the oven in terms of a topic episode that is slightly related to this. But we'll see when that comes around. But in the meantime, Travis, where can the lovely people find you and all that you do? And then you can get out of here because I know you got to hit the road.
They can find me on Twitter at Travis Political, not tweeting. I haven't done one of those in a minute. I tweeted semi recently.
Yeah, I was gonna say I saw a tweet from you not too long ago. Don't you lie?
Yeah. Jared,
Yes.
where?
You guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon. Give me $1. Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Keandre Lloyd. Oh, wait, I lost my thing. There we go. Keandre Lloyd. And to here's a fun one. I don't know if you saw this tweet, Travis. I was listening to Knowledge Fight the other day, and guess who I heard is a policy wonk now.
Oh, I think I saw this tweet. Yeah, it was Paco, right?
It is our very own
homie?
Paco, or as he's going by in our Patreon, $1.5 billion, baby.
Right, ladies and gentlemen. From the front lines of the information war, it's Alex Jones.
What y'all couldn't see that I could see in the little window in StreamYard is Travis doing a perfectly timed pantomime of the keeping an accidental tradition that we have going on this show now. Just like a quick Alex Jones news roundup at the end of the show. Did you see the article that the Southern Poverty Law Center published yesterday?
No.
So SPCL was going through some of Jones's texts, from that time that Indino Reynal and Norm Pattis just gave Alex Jones's phone to the prosecuting attorneys in the Texas trial.
And then in no legally binding fashion said, hey, wait a minute.
And in a legally binding fashion went, oops.
Oopsie daisies.
It is a highly recommended read from me. I haven't even finished the article yet because it is so goddamn long. But to speed run it, Alex sends his father cryptic and dramatic texts, and his father never responds to him.
That's good.
It's really funny. Like really fucking funny to me. Alex has a. You're familiar with Blackwater, like the mercenaries.
Yeah.
Alex has a Blackwater agent basically stalking his wife for him because he thinks she's cheating. This is unrelated to anything. Alex is cheating on his wife. This grown man in his like late 40s, early 50s referred to oral sex as getting a quote unquote sucky, which yes, I'll do the voice sucky. Yeah. This article's fucking insane. Southern Poverty Law Center. I will send it to you.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm really hoping it's all they talk about on Knowledge Fight tomorrow. Like sincerely hoping.
That's an episode I'll tune in for sure.
But anyway, Travis, you can get out of here. I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping here.
Okay.
Just to remind the lovely folks at home. Actually, I'll just bump you so you don't have to.
Goodbye,
I got you. Everybody say goodbye to Travis. Hi, Travis. I almost accidentally banned you.
Oh, no.
Make recording really difficult. Yes, guest. Anyway, like I said, folks, we are back. Knights of the Nerd Republic out tomorrow, talking Bad Batch episodes 1 through 6, season 2. Season 4 of the Knights of the Nerd Republic Patreon versus series. You get access to that, the $5 tier. Lord Starkiller from the evil ending of The Force Unleashed, going head to head with the negotiator himself, Obi-Wan Kenobi. So tune in for that. Very excited to be back. Studio 2.0 is on the way. So very excited to have my set dress and all my bells and whistles back. And I am happy to be back in the saddle. Thank you all so very much for watching and listening. And class dismissed.
Stop! Move away from the cookie jar.